thousands of earthquakes are detected every year, with the majority of them ranging in the lower magnitudes. But every so often certain areas get rocked with large earthquakes, causing large amounts of damage to surrounding areas. When these earthquakes hit sensitive spots though, it can create a worrying discussion. The magnitude 6 earthquake that just hit the northern part of California has got people talking. As of right now, there's been no reported injuries, and authorities have said there's been little damage to surrounding areas. But scientists have said that this earthquake, along with others that have hit the region, show us that the area is active, and that more bigger earthquakes could be coming in the near future. This news hasn't been welcomed with open arms, especially when you bear in mind that the director of the Southern California Earthquake Center, a man by the name of Thomas Jordan, came forward and made a chilling announcement, and that was that the San Andreas Fault appears to be in bad condition, even describing it as being in a critical state. Not exactly what you want to hear if you're living close to the region. They then detailed that this condition could cause a large earthquake to happen in the near future. This report was created because researchers said that data has shown them that there hasn't been any major stress released in the area. In fact, none have happened since the 1850s, with teams saying that a large event could be happening anytime soon. And this is because both the Pacific and North American tectonic plates are moving faster than usual. This means only one thing, and that's that stresses between the tectonic plates are constantly building up, and at some point that pressure has to be released. Various events have been recorded throughout the area. One of the biggest was measured back in 1906, with data showing us that a 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit the San Francisco Bay Area. As mentioned though, due to earthquakes of this size not hitting the area recently, scientists and researchers have theorized that we're due for one, and that due to the build-up it could be one of the biggest yet. A series of tests were carried out in order to get a better understanding of this monster earthquake that could be hitting the region, and the team estimated that the magnitude of this earthquake would be around 8, although there was an 8 to 10% chance that it would be greater than this. Worryingly, they said this could happen within the next 30 years, and that's because of where it's located. This magnitude 8 earthquake would have over 1,000 times more energy than that of a 7 magnitude earthquake, with them saying that magnitude 7 earthquakes can cause serious damage to nearby areas, so a magnitude 8 earthquake could devastate communities. Although scientists have said that the outcome of this earthquake wouldn't be as bad as the movie, they did say that one worrying thing is that this event is going to happen. There's no way we can stop it. Lives will be lost, and that there will be widespread damage and huge economic impacts around the region, and that a massive rebuild effort will have to take place that will cost billions. The United States Geological Survey went into more detail and said that they wanted to understand the effects a magnitude 7 earthquake would have on this region, saying that they used current events to predict what would happen. They said that with the current build-up, a huge earthquake would tear through the area, and from this model it showed them that hundreds of roads, fiber optics cables and power lines run through this area, and they estimated that the cost of damage to buildings alone would be over 33 billion, and said that billions more damage would happen due to gas leaks and fires. As if this wasn't bad enough, researchers have said it's not just the San Andreas Fault we need to worry about, as various other regions throughout the United States will experience large earthquakes within the next few decades. Austin Elliott, a US Geological Survey research geologist, said the following: "This was a small earthquake along essentially that whole fault system, and that's a very active structure. The region has experienced several magnitude 5 earthquakes over the years, but those who work for the US Geological Survey did say that it's understandable why people will be worried, saying that one of this size is expected to be felt throughout various places across the state." The USGS continued to say that people who live in areas that have soft sediments are more likely to feel the shake of the earthquake, while those living on elevated land won't feel the effects as much. Elliot detailed that during the earthquake he was in San Francisco and said that he was able to feel a strong shaking, saying that his apartment was shaking a lot and it even caused him to become dizzy. He continued with the following. This one, because of its distance, was probably more perceptible in places that really amplified the slow distant waves, and so like the high buildings that I'm in. Keith Knudsen, Deputy Director of the United States Geological Survey's Earthquake Science Center, said the following. Even though people can't stop earthquakes from happening, they can learn to live with problems caused by earthquakes. 3 major lines of defense against earthquake hazards are being developed. Buildings in earthquake-prone areas should be designed and constructed to resist earthquake shaking. Building codes that require attention to earthquake shaking have been improving in recent decades and constitute a first line of defense. In some cities, programs are underway to strengthen or tear down buildings that will most likely collapse due to earthquakes. A second line of defense involves the selective use of land to minimize the efforts of hazardous ground. High occupancy or critical structures, for example, should not be placed inside the San Andreas Fault. The third line of defense will be the accurate prediction of earthquakes. When such predictions become possible, it will permit timely evacuation of the most hazardous buildings. Space is one of the last unexplored frontiers for humans. Scientists, researchers, archaeologists, and historians have explained many of Earth's mysteries, but one place that keeps us guessing is that of space. Avi Loeb, who is the chairman of Harvard's Department of Astronomy, claims that he thinks he's found proof of extraterrestrials, and this came in the form of a strange space object that was detected travelling through our solar system. One of the reasons this caught people's attention is because it's not very often that you get scientists or researchers talking about this subject. The object the professor is talking about immediately displayed some strange signs, and this caused astronomers and others from around the world to speculate what it was. The object was given the name of Oumuamua, but the professor has given some examples of why this object might not be a space rock, and that it could actually be a piece of alien technology. On the 19th of October 2017, we were visited by something that scientists couldn't initially explain. It was called Oumuamua, and astronomers first noticed this object travelling through our solar system. The object in question had come from another solar system, and people quickly started to speculate what this object was. It could be seen travelling around the sun and then shooting away again. However, after this it was not to return, with them saying that the mysterious object had been in our solar system for over a century. The reason Oumuamua wasn't spotted until 2017 is because it wasn't close enough to reflect enough light for astronomers to pick it up. Even when it did get close, it was moving very fast, and meant astronomers had very little time to observe it. Once the strange object flew around the sun, it was going further away, meaning it was getting fainter and fainter. The astronomers' very last observations from Hubble were on the 2nd of January 2018. On the 3rd of May, it was then seen outside of Jupiter's orbit. Interestingly, amateur researchers have said that there's several of these mysterious objects flying around our solar system, and one was recently found by someone who was using Google Sky. The individual who found it said that it stood out to them because it looked very similar to Oumuamua, saying that they were able to take a screenshot and carry out further tests. They revealed that the object in question measures over 1,400 meters, or 4,590 feet in length. Those who saw the image said that it looked very similar to Oumuamua, suggesting that the two may be the same thing. Although scientists have said that these objects are likely asteroids, others are not so sure, and have put forward more out there theories. One of the reasons they did this was because it didn't act like a typical space object, with researchers like Avi Loeb saying that this could indicate that it's something entirely different. The first theory that was put forward was that it was an asteroid. The scientists looked at the size of the object, which was 2,600 feet or 800 meters long, and around 260 feet or 80 meters wide. However, it was reported that astronomers stated the object was not moving as it should. They picked up on the fact that Oumuamua showed a really strong non-gravitational acceleration. This tells the researchers that its motion indicated that gravity was not the only thing dictating its path. Many people put forward their theories, one of which is that this object is extraterrestrial in nature. The fact that it moves like nothing researchers have seen before could indicate that it's under intelligent control. Most scientists suggested that Oumuamua was likely something natural, and that its acceleration was due to a natural phenomenon. The next idea was that this mysterious object was releasing a large amount of hydrogen, and this was causing it to speed up. Interestingly though, not everyone has agreed with this idea. Going back, a new paper was published in the Astrophysical Journal Letters. Thiam Hong, an astrophysicist at the Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute, has said they don't think the hydrogen idea holds up, and that it wouldn't work in space. This has caused some excitement as some have gone back to the idea that this is alien tech. After all, there's many strange properties about this object that researchers can't explain. For example, the way it mimicked a comet, but yet it didn't have a tail. Also, NASA themselves reported that the interstellar visitor is 10 times as long as it is wide, and that this aspect ratio is far greater than any asteroid or comet observed in our solar system. This cigar-shaped object is still debated, and it seems with this recent paper being released, we aren't any closer to understanding what this mysterious object is. Dr. Bailey from Harvard University said the following about the object. "I wouldn't say I believe it's sent by aliens, as I'm a scientist and not a believer. I rely on evidence to put forward possible physical explanations for observed phenomena. It seems, however, until we have more evidence, we can't come to a conclusion on what this mysterious space object is. Ultimately, it will be very difficult to find out more about Oumuamua, as it's no longer in our solar system. According to some, Oumuamua is expected to reach the Kuiper Belt in around 2024. Loeb started to open his mind to the possibility that this mysterious space object could be something else, and that as mentioned it may be a piece of alien tech, and that it made its way into our solar system. Those who heard about the professor putting forward this idea gave him props, saying that it's not very often that someone in this field has an open mind and puts forward these kinds of theories, so when it happens they should be told that is appreciated. When it comes to the universe, it's fair to say that humans don't know very much, and why would we? Modern humans haven't been studying the cosmos for very long, so how can you expect us to know all of the answers? Every so often a discovery like this is going to come along, and there's nothing wrong with having an open mind about what it is and where it's come from. As of right now, scientists and researchers still disagree on what this object is, and have said that we will have to wait for it to come back around again for us to study it in more detail. According to the recent obtained Freedom of Information Act records that were gathered by the news site The Drive, the documents claim that 3 unmanned aerial crafts buzzed 3 destroyers for several days. The mysterious aircrafts were described in the logs as unmanned aerial vehicles, and as of right now it's not known what these unidentified crafts were. The documents state that 3 unidentified objects chased and flew circles around 3 US warships, and this was off the coast of California in 2019. With the reports going on to detail one of these crafts was able to match the speed and bearing of one destroyer, and they did this for over 90 minutes. So far, all of this information has come directly from details released from the ship's logs. But now a new hypersonic drone has been spotted at a Chinese airbase, with Pentagon officials looking into whether this drone is behind the mysterious UFO sightings. The satellite images show what research defense websites say is a hypersonic advanced Chinese drone. The satellite was able to photograph the drone while it was stationed at the Malon Air Base, and one of the things that stood out to researchers was that it was triangular in shape, and that this is what some of the US officials reported while being on the naval ships. Officials who have looked into the airbase have said they've created some incredible aircrafts, with researchers noting that the airbase is on the leading edge of the country's aircraft developments. It's estimated that China has spent billions on its aircraft development programs, with military personnel saying that they've teamed up with artificial intelligence companies so that their hypersonic drones can be flown without humans, also noting that this AI is able to see and detect things before humans. In a recent report on mysterious aircrafts, one explanation that was given by Pentagon officials was that these Chinese hypersonic drones were behind the sightings, saying that China and possibly Russia had created non-gravitational entities that far exceeded some of the United States aircrafts, which concerned many as for years it was thought that the US was the most advanced when it came to aircrafts. Not everyone is entirely convinced of this explanation though, with one person saying the following: "There's no way that I'm buying that these crafts are behind the sightings that's reported by Navy officials. There's definitely a conversation to be had about China and Russia owning advanced aircrafts, and what that means for other countries. But to say that these things are what officials are reporting on is just untrue. We don't have any drones on this planet that's able to hit tens of thousands of miles per hour, can go underwater, can evade radar, and can completely vanish while being chased." End quote. Louis Elizondo, who is one of the individuals who originally investigated these sightings, said the following: "The government has already stated for the record that they're real. It's not me telling you that. The United States government is telling you that. The question is, what is it? What's its intentions? And what's its capabilities? Imagine a technology that can do 600 to 700 G-forces, that can fly at 13,000 miles per hour, that can evade radar, that can fly through air, water and space, and has no obvious signs of propulsions, no wings, no control surfaces, and yet can still defy Earth's gravity. This is exactly what we're seeing." End quote. The USS Kidd was one of the ships that were approached by these mysterious objects. As of right now, many places are labeling these crafts as drones, but in the official ship's logs they're detailed as being unidentified aerocrafts. The logs go on to detail that as many as 6 of these crafts were observed flying around the ship, saying that these objects were seen performing brazen maneuvers. The logs went on to detail the following: Kidd reported UAV, white light identified hovering over the ship's flight deck, 2 UAV spotted off the starboard, 6 minutes later 4 UAV spotted off the starboard bridge. End quote. It's interesting to note that these Navy vessels have some of the best tech on the planet, including sensors, radar, thermal imaging and electro-optical systems. However, none of them were able to track and explain what these unidentified crafts were. Some have gone on to question whether these unidentified crafts were observing the ships. After all, this isn't the first time that unidentified crafts have been reported near our ships. In fact, ex-servicemen have come forward and detailed the mysterious encounters with these crafts. Due to them being seen and reported around our oceans, researchers have said that these are different to standard unidentified flying objects, and it's caused them to be given the name of unidentified submerged objects. These USOs are reported to look very similar to that of UFOs, and it's caused some to question whether the two are different, or whether normal UFOs have the ability to go underwater. Reports on USOs are not new. They go back many years and sometimes come from very credible sources. In one incident that the former US Navy Commander David Fravor narrated, he saw a dark mass underwater while they were retrieving a drone, and described it as a big mass kind of circular. The second time the pilot saw the dark mass, a practice torpedo that the pilot had sent to recover was sucked down, and it was never seen again. USOs are usually passed off as common objects, which are distorted below the surface, but trained Navy personnel are more familiar with the ocean, so when military officials claim to have witnessed a USO or a UFO, it automatically becomes more credible. It's interesting that the Navy and other military branches are being more open to the idea of unidentified flying objects. Those that have seen UFOs have said that it's nice that they're starting to be taken more seriously. Amateur researchers have said that as the years go on, it's likely that those who spent time in the military will come forward with their encounters and detail the mysterious things they witnessed while being in the military. Believers have said they're excited, and it's about time that people were told the truth about what's going on. So what do you make of this interesting report? Do you think that Chinese hypersonic drones are behind these sightings? Or do you think these crafts are still a mystery? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below, and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.